with them. I want to welcome on Saul Kaplan, Mr. Innovation. Welcome for Business Monday on our Monday afternoon in this spectacular string of amazing weather. Lots of things going on. Let's start with Amazon.
Okay.
If Amazon hadn't shaken up the retail world enough, they punched every one of their competitors in the face this morning in the supermarket retail world by announcing major price cuts of the cost of products at their 400 Whole Food stores.
They wasted no time. I mean, you and I had talked a little bit about, was there going to be some antitrust backlash when people claim they're too big? Boy, that didn't take long for the federal government to come down, and allow it.
Yeah.
Boy, the board of Whole Foods voted in a nanosecond to move the transaction forward. So here we are, and then a day later, here comes Bezos, here comes Amazon, slashing prices. It's just the beginning of what we're going to see in terms of a new shopping experience in the food space. And yet again, every food retailer in the country, if not the world, has to be good and worried about, are they innovating fast enough?
They are on their knees with dry heats right now. And their stocks,
they're on their heels for sure.
Well, and their stocks responded accordingly with a really a recalibration of where the retail supermarket world is. He is going to buy market share. He's going to buy and compete aggressively. He doesn't care if he loses money.
He's going to change the customer experience. He's going to change how we interact with physical locations like supermarkets and blend that with online. It's not going to be either or.
No.
It's going to be integrated, as we've been talking about several times. And these new practices and these new models are going to come fast. And it's going to be a great benefit for those of us that are thinking about the meals we eat, where our food comes from, and what we pay for them. Jeff Bezos was never going to allow Whole Foods to be the highest cost place to buy food.
Right.
But that was never going to be true. And so he came right out of the chute. I think he was sending a signal to the rest of the industry, but then it shouldn't surprise anybody. This is what Amazon has been doing in every industry, and I think it's on incumbent industries to figure out how to play. Because if they think they're going to stop it or create regulations that slow it down,
forget it.
I think they're kidding themselves. I think they've got to figure out, how do they play? How do you change the customer experience?
So you've got you just had a strike force attack your battleship group. How do you move your battleship when those who are attacking you are moving like, drone flexibility?
Right. Well, they should have been, it's easy to look back with hindsight and to say they should have been innovating all along. They should have been playing with these practices and new capabilities and figuring out how to change the customer experience. If they've gotten caught flat-footed, which most of them have, they better get on with it really quickly because this thing is going to happen in a matter of months and years. This isn't a 10-year kind of silver. Will there be physical supermarkets? Absolutely there will be, but how we access them, what types of food we buy there, what role they play in helping us shape meals and healthy choices for our family, and how to do that in a cost-effective way, what we go to the store to pick up physically versus what gets shipped to us, in almost real time, which what Amazon can do now. This is awfully hard to compete with, and it's not just the supermarkets. It's all of the folks in that ecosystem, all the suppliers.
Well, I think. How about this for a number of those 1,000 company on the Forbes list 10 years ago? Top 1,000, 70% of them are gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and it's not going to.
They were the best performing, biggest companies, and now only 30% of those are left.
It's not going to slow down, and it's not just companies that have resisted the change and resisted using this technology in a different way, right? Even innovators, right? Being an innovator means innovating every day. You can't rest on your laurels, because I can tell you Jeff Bezos and the folks at Amazon are. it,
No.
right? Even when they do something right and good, and they're right into what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
How do we disrupt ourselves, right, to make sure that we're always have the customer at the center, always improving customer experience, and let's do that in an economic way that saves people money, gets them access to better food and better meals. And so this was never, about buying Whole Foods so they could shut it down, so more people won't be forced to buy stuff online. This was always about what's the next generation of practices and models that change the way we access and enjoy healthy food at a price we can afford.
Who dies first?
What?
Who dies because of this?
Well, the most immediate hits are the people that are in the bricks and mortar, retail business, because, as you say, if they keep lowering their prices, right, they put enormous pressure, on the rest of the retail market, just like the booksellers,
Yeah.
right? Although there are still, food isn't virtual, at least the last time I checked, it's
Right.
still a physical product. So it's a little bit different than books, but there's a lot of products that we get at supermarkets that, can be shipped, to us without having to go park in a parking lot, deal with the crowd. I think this is going to come down to meals for our family, that are quick and healthy and at a price point, that we can afford, and you're going to see them play with every single permutation of that.
Not too healthy.
What?
Not too
Well,
healthy.
they will have plenty of food for those of us that say we want to be healthy, but not too much.
Right.
And then they'll have the food for folks who are crazy healthy. And
Yeah, that's right.
Like, they will deliver.
Our
whatever
drone
experience
was
you want.
tracking you to Tiverton, saw you enter a couple of antique stores, but really
There you
saw
go.
the bigger focus into Gray's
Gray's
Ice Cream. Yes.
Well, who goes down to Little Compton without having a Gray's ice cream cone on the way back? Yeah, you caught me. Go figure.
Let's talk a little bit. Do they immediately pivot and start entering? We all anticipate, well, they're going after supermarkets and how we deliver food. Is it boom, next week it's another vertical market that they're pounding away on in leveraging those brick 400 locations as launching pads to take on paint, to take on whatever the next.
I think they look at everything.
Yeah.
I think they are all
Furniture.
about changing the way we shop, changing the way we get at what we need to improve our lives. And I think they look at every single category, and they will pick off different categories that they're ready to go all in on. Obviously, food, is up now, and we'll see, what the next one is. But you can imagine, no matter what kind of retailer you are, no matter what kind of distributor you are supplying materials into that channel, right? You know that there's going to be an online component to that, and you better stop thinking about what's the online business and what's the in-store business. It's not that way anymore. It's what's the customer experience? How do you combine online with the physical presence? How do you deliver an experience that it gets people access to, in this case, the food and the meals that they want? All kinds of innovations are going to start happening there, and I say, that this is a good thing. Right? And now the pressure goes back to the incumbents that haven't innovated. And now, what are you going to do? How are you going to innovate? Deliver a better experience to me, right? Deliver better access to food, in a way that solves the job I need to do or the problem that I have to solve.
Well, listen, if you're one of the 1,800 people that just got hired over in Fall River, Amazon's not a bad place. If you're one of the 900 people that just got hired up in Boston, it's not a bad place. And a number of companies are locating into Rhode Island to supply the warehouses in Fall River. That may be one of the biggest.
There's a whole ecosystem built around it.
Right.
Now, after I've gone off on how this is great for consumers, now I have to come back and say, let's talk about people who live in our community. Let's talk about people who work at these retailers.
Right.
Let's talk about people who worked at the Kmart, where they just announced the last Kmart was going to go. So now the last Sears.
I cannot
from
believe
Rhode
there
Island.
was a Kmart still going in Rhode Island.
Well, I mean, think about that. The last Sears and now the last Kmart. These are the vestiges of the old retail, driven economy.
Well, think about Sears put so many small businesses out of business when their Sears catalog, which was, for decades the most innovative thing, the biggest selection, ship it right to your house.
Well, that's the point.
Right.
Just because you're the innovator before,
Today,
just because Netflix innovated to take blockbusters out, doesn't mean they needed to innovate and change again to do live streaming,
Right.
which they've now done. You have to innovate as a way of life. Whether you're a person to stay relevant, whether you're a company or an organization, or whether you're a community like Rhode Island that wants to transform, its community. In the end, it's about what's next and how do we make it safer and easier to manage, to experiment with the next generation of practices and new models, so that we're not waiting for the next announcement from Amazon,
Right.
And sitting here, shuddering in our boots, saying, woe is me, Amazon's trying to put us out of business. Well, Amazon's trying to improve the customer experience, and if we're not, we're going to lose.
So let's jump over to Uber. Uber made a big announcement.
Yes, they did.
The announcement is a little perplexing in that they have offered him the job. Has he actually accepted it?
I've been following this all day, and I still don't think I've seen the acceptance yet.
No.
I think they probably have some hoops to jump through in terms of communicating to different
Right.
stakeholder groups, but everything I read suggests, that he competed for this job, he wanted the job. So I suspect, within a day, he's going to formally accept it after he's talked to the
They'll give him the
stakeholder
jersey,
groups.
the press conference at
Correct.
Gillette.
That's right.
He's a
It's
Brown
gonna
grad.
He's a Brown grad.
1991
So
Brown grad.
how cool is that? So if you think about it,
Absolutely.
the two biggest disruptors out there right now,
Airbnb.
whether it's Airbnb and Uber, one a RISD grad, one a Brown grad. So who says we're not about innovation here
That's
in Rhode
right.
Island?
The only problem is their
Yeah.
innovation is taking place in other parts
Somewhere
of the
else.
country
Well-
and not necessarily here, which is a lesson about are we investing in the right things, right?
Yep.
Here are smart, innovative people, fairly young, both in their 40s, and they are playing in other parts of the country, and it's not happening here.
Right. Well, this goes to, first of all, a lot of people will talk about brain drain. Like,
Yeah.
look at all these bright people and then they leave.
Right.
Well, you'd rather have the talent in the first place than not have it.
Correct.
Imagine if you were a community that didn't have
Right.
these universities, and colleges, and you didn't have the talent. So it's a good problem to have. Now, what is it about Rhode Island that makes it a place where they can innovate and can disrupt industries? What are we doing to make Rhode Island the place where you want to start and form Airbnb or Uber, which is a completely different business model or way to deliver customer value? What did we do at the policy level, at the program
Well,
level?
you think
at the
about it,
center
our
level to
tax
do it?
incentives are
Right.
the way we're giving banks, financial service
Right.
firms, incentives to build call centers, right? That's one
Right.
of the big ones we have here, and we've generated thousands of jobs. The number of programs that are incubating startups is almost non-existent in the state of Rhode Island.
We should be focused on, are we a place that welcomes innovators, people that are disrupting the way things work today to change the customer value? Now, that's easier to say than to do when just the conversation we just finished, which that disruption affects people, right? It affects the existing incumbents. So where's the power base? And if it's the incumbents that are preventing innovators from innovating here,
Right.
then of course they're going to go somewhere else. We should be happy we have the talent here, right? And we should be creating the conditions for them to innovate here, right? And then we'll get our fair share, and more of them will start to stay and to do stuff here. But that's the policy that we should be focused on.
As always, and we're on the clock now towards BIF Summit.
Oh my goodness.
We're
Yeah.
how many days away?
Oh my goodness, it's like 2 weeks away, and things are crazy at BIF right now in a good way. Like, this is the
Did you get
time
your
that-
outfit yet?
What?
Did you go back to school, back to BIF
My
Summit
back is-
shopping?
I won't go there because it's a running joke with my team and at home. And, I wear the same thing every year. It's the
Every
same.
year.
Like, I'm
The
such a creature of habit.
BIF Summit uniform?
For an innovation junkie.
Right.
When it comes to clothing, not so much. Not so much.
We're 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Your fine work literally brings in 50 to 500 of the smartest people, most innovative, most creative people in the United States and the world.
We're pretty close to announcing, like we do every year, that it's sold out.
Yeah.
We have a limit of how many people we can put in Trinity Rep, just around 500, a few more.
Yeah.
And we're there.
Right.
And so we're almost there. And so these folks come from all over. There's a group coming from Australia. You scratch your head and say, how did they find us? Why do they come?
Go Local Live.
And it must be Go Local.
But can I just tell you,
Yeah.
Walter Mossberg was on, and we were driven to make some news with him. And so we give our news editor, Kate Nagel, a lot of credit, because he did not want to cough it up.
She was relentless.
She was relentless on who are the 5 biggest.
She
and
was.
he coughed it up.
He finally did.
I think we have at least one of those 5 coming on in the next couple weeks.
Oh, do you really?
And
Oh, good for
that
you.
story ran and ran, and I think it's the first time he's ever, in his estimation, the leading tech journalist, personal tech journalist in the history of technology, made his list. Now, everybody had Gates and Jobs, but I don't know that everybody...
He gave you a few others.
The rest of that list.
And he has so many of them, and it was good that he shared it with you. I'm glad it was helpful. I'm looking forward to him coming back home to Rhode Island.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being on the BIF stage. I really like Walter a lot. I have great respect for him. And as a Rhode Islander, I think it's always great to have him.
Yeah,
come back
absolutely, right.
And spend time with us.
Right, and everybody claims him. People from Providence claim, well, he started, grew up a small child here in Providence.
Yeah.
And then Warwick claims him, well, he moved to Warwick, and of course in Rhode Island sense. Anything new we should expect? I mean, this is really the countdown. We're only going to see you one more time before the big event. We're wildly excited about it. I'm going to be broadcasting.
You're going to broadcast
live
live both days, right?
Both days, and it's looking like we'll be able to broadcast live to 40 different social media platforms simultaneously.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's what we're working on right now.
That's fantastic, because
So-
we believe that it's not about the 32 storytellers on the stage, although they're pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
It's about the folks in the room and the patterns they see and the places they see for new collaborations and innovation. But then I even go further. I will say to the people in the room, it's not about you either, right? It's about the people that aren't in the room. And we have worked really hard on opening up the conversation with live streaming, with a Twitter feed that's already started. If you go to hashtag BIF 2017, you tell me how many conferences 3 weeks away have a
It's
running
unbelievable.
hashtag that are already, you go there today, you'll see already people coming in from all over engaging in the conversation, and it'll go nuts as we approach and go into the summit. It's one of my favorite things to watch, because not only do we have this conversation going on in the room, but the conversation goes on outside of the room, and people are engaging in the conversation remotely. So it's not about just our own networks, it's about our network's network. And extending the conversation. And it's one of my favorite things to do at the BIF Summit, because that's where we learn how these new business models work and how we can help the partners that we work with to design and test and to commercialize models that change the customer experience. So we model it at the summit, and then we use it in our projects, and everybody in that room uses it to drive the innovation that they're trying to drive. It's a wonderful thing to
We're wildly excited about it. I want to thank you as always, Mr. Innovation.
Great.
Thank you for the connections down in Houston.
Oh, it's wonderful to see Angela.
It is,
So good.
and she's, I think, standing up pretty well. I was about to say weathering things
Oh, my
down there
goodness.
pretty well, but
Yeah.
we'll skip that. We had every cliche flying here today relative to keeping head above water and all those types of things. So I do want to thank